Hello. Thank you for watching and tuning in. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about why it's okay to be poor. Reason being is because I came across this article here about former football star pleads guilty to NFLPA, which is the National Players Association. That's what that acronym stands for. Fraud case. So just to hop on in and read this real quick, and I have a couple of clippings to show you for the R. Kelly case. And there's a missing persons information I wanted to throw out there real quick, and I have some pictures of the fellas. But first it says in '06, the NFL instituted the Gene Upshaw NFL Player Health Reimbursement Account Plan, or the HRA, which helps eligible retired NFL players with out-of-pocket coverage medical expenses after their NFL paid medical coverage under the NFL player insurance plans end. Reimbursement amounts to $3,500 for any eligible player dependent upon the participant's last credit season. Now, what they do is they include medical, they pay for premiums, copay, prescription drug costs, medical exam, weight loss programs, DME, durable medical equipment, and other health related services. Much like most of the healthcare industry, the HRA plan is not immune from fraudulent schemes seeking reimbursement by HRA plan participants for services that were not medically necessary or not rendered at all. See, that not medically necessary, that's where there's a little bit of ambiguity, because you can need a wheelchair because it's just easier to get around, hypothetically. However, the doctor doesn't think so. Guess what? That's your out-of-pocket expense, and you can't claim it on here. Nevertheless, let's continue on with this story. It says on September 8th, 2021, the United States Department announced that 3 retired NFL players had pleaded guilty for their roles in a nationwide scheme to defraud the HRA plan. Clinton Portis, a former Denver Bronco and Washington football team running back, was the most notable player to plead guilty for submitting false claims to the HRA plan for durable medical equipment that was never provided. As a result, Portis obtained over almost $100,000 in reimbursement. In connection with this guilty plea, Portis agreed to pay full restitution to the HRA plan and is facing a minimum penalty of 10 years. There's also another article with Washington Post. Back to the other one, just in case if you want to pull this, I went to jdsupra.com and type in this title, and you should be able to locate this case, this article. Then Washington Post also had one dated September 7th, and it reads, more than a dozen former NFL players, including former star running back Clinton Portis, have pleaded guilty to federal charges linked to a multi-dollar nationwide scheme to defraud a healthcare benefit program. The most recent guilty pleas came within the last 3 weeks from Robert McCann, 40, of Georgia, Tamarick Vanover, 47, of Florida, and Portis, 40, of South Carolina. All 3 plead guilty to submitting false claims to the Gene Upshaw NFL Health Insurance Reimbursement Account for medical equipment that was not actually provided. McCann admitted he received nearly $2.5 million for orchestrating the scheme. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud and healthcare fraud, 13 counts of healthcare fraud, 11 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of aggravated identity theft. He faces a maximum penalty of 50 years in prison and is set to be sentenced on November 19th. Meanwhile, Mr. Van Over said he received 1,000, well, let's say almost 160 grand for recruiting 3 other former NFL players into the scheme and helping them submit false claims and misreported submit to receiving 100 grand. I think that part was in this part right here. No, that was on the other paragraph. For submitting small claims, they both plead guilty to conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and agreed to pay a restitution to the plan, and each face up to 10 years in prison and are scheduled to be sentenced in January. The plan, which was established in 2006 as part of the collective bargaining agreement, allowed former players, their spouses, and dependents to receive up to $3,500,000 per player for out-of-pocket medical expenses not covered by insurance. Federal prosecutors initially indicted all 3 former players in 2019, along with 7 others, in the U.S. Eastern District Court of Kentucky. 5 more former players, were indicted since then, bringing the total to 15. All of the players have since pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud, including Joseph Horn. Okay, so I have the pictures here for you. Okay. I guess I don't have Joseph. Okay, one moment. Let me find. Here we go. Okay, so Joseph Horn, when I put in football players and just search for their, using Bing on this side, search for their pictures. So this may be what Joseph Horn looks like. So I wrote this on little sticky notes so I can spread the pictures out. But so we just want to look at what these guys look at. We could do that real quick. But here's their names right here. One of them passed. And they said it had seemed like it was like a hit or something. But so yeah, so it's let's start with Donald Reach Claudwell. Says right here, death. Claudwell was shot and killed on June 6, according to his mother. The shooting occurred during an attempted robbery. The police reported that the killing did not appear to be random and that the apparent robbery may have been planned. So it's very unfortunate. He was 41 and he played a couple of games here and there. I'm not a real big football fanatic, but you know, I know some of these guys may have came from humble backgrounds, and I'm really sad to see, you know, this happen. It probably was just like a bad idea that just kind of snowballed and, you know, got worse and worse. This may be Frederick Bennett. He's another one. Anthony Montgomery, this may be him. This may be them, so I won't say that every time. Daryl Reed. I'm working my way from the bottom up. Antoine Odom. John Eubanks. Not for certain how you say his name. It's like a C. Edric. This name right here is C. Andres Brown. I believe this is Eric Pruitt. That's how you say Eric with a T. Has a T in it. Then we have a James Butler, a Carlos Roger, a Carlos. Nope, I skipped one. Cornell Buckhalter. Correll. I'm missing Carlos Roger. Okay, hold up. No, I'm sorry. Carlos Roger. Joseph Horn. Robert McCoon, Tamarick Over plead guilty on September 3rd, and Clinton Portis. I don't know. I didn't look up any specific information on these guys, not for certain if this is them or not. But some of these guys may have came from just a very, humble background, being raised in the projects or something of that sort. It's possible that they came from very good homes, rich neighborhoods, but it's possible some of them just came from very bad, or, what they call humble beginnings. And, it's like, we have to learn as we go, and, it's unfortunate, it happens. And, everybody wants, success. Now, they also just reached the verdict on R. Kelly, so people may know that. It says right here, he was found guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking. It says after more than 25 years of accusations, court trial in New York that lasts 7 weeks. R&B singer R. Kelly was found guilty of charges including sexual exploitation of a child, robbery, racketeering, and sex trafficking involving 5 victims. He faces 10 years for that part, but they are saying that coming May that they're going to file more charges against him. That he has a long time of, dealing with that. And then right here it also says aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 victims, 3 of them minors in Minnesota, and where Kelly was charged in August 2019 with engaging in prostitution with a minor. I have a clip of of someone speaking on the case.
Of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. in any discussion about Kelly, a dangerous sexual predator who has harmed so many women and underage girls. The defense also argued that Mr. Kelly treated his victims, quote, like gold, end quote, targeting them, recruiting them, isolating them from their family and friends, forcing them to follow his abusive rules in order to control them, punishing them if they did not follow his rules to the letter, hitting them, threatening them, sexually assaulting them, giving many of them genital herpes, and victimizing them by recording many of them on child pornography tapes, is not treating them like gold. R. Kelly thought that he could get away with all of this, but he didn't. Because despite the fact that he thought he could control all of his victims, he was wrong. Many of his victims had the courage to speak up and tell their truth, under oath, in a court of law. I am very proud of my clients who agreed to testify in this case. I thank them for trusting me, law enforcement, and the jury to find the truth. My clients who testified fought through their fear and relived their painful experiences with R. Kelly and his enablers. R. Kelly's victims handled themselves with dignity and survived intense cross-examination by the defense. Because of their courage and the outstanding work of federal agents and prosecutors in this case, justice has been done. Let this be a message to other celebrities who also use their fame to prey on their fans, and others who are unfortunate enough to come into contact with them. You're also likely to face serious consequences for your criminal conduct. The issue is not if the law will catch up to you. The only question is when. I also have a very short statement from one of my clients, and that's Sonia. I know that she is happy with the verdict that Mr. Kelly has been convicted, and thankful that the jury listened to her and to the rest of the witnesses. She says, "I've been hiding from Robert Kelly in fear due to threats made against me, and I'm ready to start living my life free from fear and to start the healing process. I want to thank the jury for considering the evidence and truly listening to my testimony. I want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office and the federal prosecutors in this case. Thank you for shining a light and helping me to get out from under that rock that I stayed under for far too long. Also, thank you to the federal agents who have listened to my story and for all that you have done to protect myself and others over the last 2 years. If you've been in a similar situation, I urge you to come forward as well. It will be like a weight lifted off of your shoulders. No one should have to live like that."
Gloria, do you feel, do the women you represent feel like justice has been served today? Are they angry that it's taken many decades of allegations?
Well, I mean, since the verdict was not just announced, I've not had a chance to consult with all of them. But I know that a number of them feel that if he's been convicted of any crimes, whether or not it was crimes for which he was charged in reference to them, that they're happy that he's convicted.
Are they upset it's taken so long to get to this point?
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question.
Sorry, are they upset that it's taken this long for this to happen?
Are they upset that it's taken this long for things to happen? Well, they understand that justice moves at a glacial pace. It's not like it is on television, which I've said many times. Everything doesn't happen within 1 hour.
Laura, in regards to Sonia, the jury didn't come back and based on their decision, they did not believe your client. They did not believe it.
Well, it's not a question of whether they...
So this part I want to pause because this sounded like a black dude. Excuse me, I know I get kind of casual with my speech and then like extremely formal, but please excuse me as I go back and forth. I just try to explain it like the way it comes out of my mind, and then I try to make sure I explain it the way that making sure, everybody, as they used to say, the common man, make sure everybody can understand. Because, what point is it to use those big words if nobody knows what you're talking about? So, kids could be watching this. But this guy right here sounds pretty creepy, and it brings me to the missing girls. They're lately we've been popular opinion is that minorities or the marginalized are not getting as much play as our counterparts. And so I just want to say, think about what this guy is saying as we think about, women being hurt, because we don't want to see these guys go to jail. Like these NFL players, like I was saying, these professional athletes and these black celebrities, they're using their status to please, just for sexual gains. And one thing I want to say is that it doesn't look like they have money, and maybe that's a conspiracy, or I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe it's just a hunch, but I don't know what it is. It just seemed like these celebrities, black celebrities and pro athletes, although you can Google and see like this guy here, what's his name? You can Google this guy and see the most known one, what his net worth was while he played. So it's not like he, well, right now, but, like over his career, something like that. Now, maybe hypothetically not half, but, like 20% went to taxes. You know, maybe they have to pay for health insurance for everybody. You know, some of these guys, they don't even help their parents out of, you know, welfare and stuff like that. You know, they'll just leave them there. I guess so that when they go back, they'll go back to where they went, if that's the case. Or, you know, sometimes they may do stuff like this to try to make certain they don't have to, you know, go back to living in, you know, conditions. But not to throw you off here, but just look at, I just kind of wonder, like, you know, like, how do they spend their money like this? I want, if anybody know, just hit me up with a comment. Because I'm pretty sure, like, you know, they don't get that at once. You're not going to get $40 million at once. Maybe you get $5 million a year. You know, like, again, half of that goes to taxes, paying for your insurance, maybe your house payment, car payments, whatever. You should still have a whole lot of disposable income. And I guess, like, you know, that, you know, these guys are treated like gods. You know, football, professional football, these guys are treated like gods. Because you just imagine growing up being, you know, poor. Not all of them, some of them may have grown up poor, and then be able to make it to this type of height in life. And then, you know, to try, maybe, you know, someone suggested a bad idea, and then it kind of snowballed a little bit. You know, I don't have any judgment. I'm not saying any judgment. I'm not saying I want to see any of these guys go in. And we don't want to see any more women hurt. And that's the big narrative. Let's stop the hurt so they can clean up these drugs. I know some people want to keep the dirty drugs. They don't want everybody to have an even playing field. And I just say, like that kind of thinking, and is called an idiocracy. And I looked that up for y'all. If I spelled it right. A society or group that is controlled by or consists of people of low intelligence. You know, it is very, it's not very intelligent to think that we're going to resort to violence so that we can have what we need. And people end up hurt. But back to the video. Sorry about that break.
Believed her. It's a question of whether they found guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's very different than whether they believed her.
So there was doubt in their decision with your client.
Pardon me?
There was doubt in their decision with your client.
You would... Go ahead.
Thank you, Gloria. I think the prosecution wants to speak. Hey, bro. Hey, bro.
And you hear how he's speaking, you know, hey, bro. Another thing I noticed is these lawyers, prosecutors, district attorneys, look how they're all just kind of bunched up right here. I noticed that. I think that they're getting death threats and stuff like that. You know, it's a big case. What I admire is you don't hear them talking about that. They're not making it a, you know, stink about it. Not to say if they was wrong if they did, but I really admire, you know, not complaining, doing your job, even though, despite of idiocracies.
Okay, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District is going to speak, and then she'll be followed by Special Agent in Charge, Homeland Security Investigations. I'll give you the U.S. Attorney's name first. It's Jacqueline, Jacquelyn, Kasulis, Kasulis, U.S. Attorney, Eastern District of New York, Acting U.S. Attorney, Eastern District of New York. And she'll be followed by Peter Fitzhugh, Fitzhugh, Special Agent in Charge, Homeland Security Investigations. They're not going to take any questions because the defendant still has to be sentenced. We have a podium here that I'd like to put up. Can you raise this mic stand a little bit, or is the podium going to get in the way of the mics?
It's going to get in the way.
Huh?
It's going to get in the way.
Can you raise this mic stand?
It'll be in your face.
All right, because I'm going to put in, I'm going to bring over that podium so they can put some papers down in front of it.
Okay, so we're using prize.
That's a regular podium. You said regular podium.
You got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. It's on the edge.
Okay. Okay, Jacqueline Kasoulis, U.S. Attorney first, followed by Peter Fitzhugh, Homeland Security Investigator.
You should back up, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Kasoulis, and I'm the acting U.S. Attorney here in the Eastern District of New York. Today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator who used his fame and fortune to prey on the young, the vulnerable, and the voiceless for his own sexual gratification. A predator who used his inner circle to ensnare underage girls and young men and women for decades in a sordid web of sex abuse, exploitation, and humiliation. To the victims in this case, your voices were heard and justice was finally served. This conviction would not have been possible without the bravery and resilience of R. Kelly's victims. I applaud their courage in revealing in open court the painful, intimate, and horrific details of their lives with him. No one deserves what they experienced at his hands or the threats and harassment they faced in telling the truth about what happened to them. We hope that today's verdict brings some measure of comfort and closure to the victims. This conviction is the latest in a long line of prosecutions by this office to protect women and vulnerable minors from sexual predators. Today's result was made possible by the outstanding work, dedication, and skill of the prosecution team. AUSA's Elizabeth Geddes, Nadia Shahada, and Maria Cruz Melendez, and senior investigator Keith Kolovich and paralegal specialists Kira Wenthen and Alyssa Fagel. Their grace under pressure was truly extraordinary. I want to commend and thank the Special Agents Ryan Chabot and Sylvette Reynoso of the Department of Homeland Security Investigations under the supervision of Supervisory Special Agent Elvin Hernandez for their outstanding work on the case, along with detectives from the New York City Police Department. Together, this superb team spent countless hours over years to sort through records and documents and interviewing over hundreds of witnesses to painstakingly marshal the facts and build a strong case. I also want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of Illinois and Cook County State's Attorney's Office for its assistance. Last but not least, I want to thank the men and women of the jury for their time and attention throughout the trial and for their careful assessment of the overwhelming evidence in this case. In rendering its verdict today, the jury delivered a powerful message to men like R. Kelly. No matter how long it takes, the long arm of the law will catch up with you. I will now turn over the microphone to HSI Special Agent in Charge, Peter Fitzhugh. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pete Fitzhugh, and I'm the Special Agent in Charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in New York. Before I begin my remarks, I'd like to quickly thank Acting United States Attorney for ED&Y, Jacqueline Kasulis, and her amazing team of prosecutors. Today's verdict brings an end to Robert Kelly's decade-long reign of terror over many vulnerable girls, boys, and young women. With this verdict, it is my sincere hope that it will also begin the healing process for these brave survivors. Today's decision demonstrates that our system of justice knows no boundaries and will hold criminals accountable, regardless of their fame or fortune. Mr. Kelly once said, "I'm no angel, but I'm no monster either." I wholeheartedly disagree with that. The investigative and prosecution team spent months conducting hundreds of interviews, analyzing documentary and electronic evidence, all of which confirmed the true depravity of Mr. Kelly. For years, Mr. Kelly believed that his power and fame could defy the justice system and allow him to continue his abuse. Today, a jury of Mr. Kelly's peers confirmed what these courageous victims have known for far too long. Mr. Kelly is a prolific serial predator. Despite numerous reports of his destructive abuse over the years, Mr. Kelly's brazen acts of intimidation against his accusers kept him shielded from prosecution. Mr. Kelly had the audacity to engage with his associates to bribe and threaten victims, their families, and witnesses, all in an effort to prevent the truth from being told. Make no mistakes, these actions by Mr. Kelly and his associates were not only designed to hide the truth, but to also keep and continue his destructive ways against the young and vulnerable. In their failed attempt to evade justice, Mr. Kelly and his associates made one critical error. They underestimated the resilience and courage of the victims who refused to be silenced. He believed that his fame would drown out the voices, that they would not be believed, and that his notoriety would deter tenacious investigators and prosecutors from taking up their cause. These victims overcame Mr. Kelly's abuse. They deserve to be recognized. Know this, we stand here today because of them. Without them, today would not have been accomplished. Today is their day. HSI and our partners at ED&Y take a victim-centric approach to investigations, ensuring that we swiftly focus our efforts on those most impacted by the crime. With this in mind, I truly believe that in light of the great bravery of these victims and their advocates, it would be much more appropriate to call them survivors, as they refuse to remain victims. As we think about the survivors, I would like to take a few moments to speak publicly about the work HSI special agents and our partners performed on their behalf. A lot has been said about the relationship between law enforcement and the communities we serve. Today is a reminder of our profession's highest calling, to protect the public against oppressors. Today's verdict was not inevitable. It was only possible because these survivors placed their trust in law enforcement. They believed that agents and prosecutors would diligently seek out the truth and bring Mr. Kelly to justice. For that, you have my utmost respect and admiration. Today, we stand united with the survivors and our community with one simple goal in mind. Mr. Kelly and others like him will never again be in a position to abuse others. Together, we will continue this work to make certain that one day, days like today won't be necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
No questions?
That's it? That's it? Like what?
it's game day to go. Score big with Wing Zone's bonus.
Sorry, no, it's kind of loud, the ad.
JonBenet Ramsey.
The disappearance of Madeline McCann.
Natalie Holloway vanished in Aruba.
Murdered or missing white women and children who captured national media attention. The most recent,
still on the hunt for Gabby Petito's fiance.
Gabby Petito, found dead in Wyoming 8 days after she was reported missing.
She was at work on this one.
In Chicago, Karen Phillips is fighting to make sure the world knows her daughter, Kiera Coles, a mail carrier missing for almost 3 years.
I believe that if Kiera was a different color, we'd have more results by now.
This photo of Coles holding an ultrasound after learning she was pregnant is one of the last pictures taken of her in 2018.
We couldn't wait. We could not wait.
Phillips is among dozens of black and minority families struggling to get attention on their missing person cases.
I just miss her. She was doing so good at everything she wanted to do. Then for her to just come out missing, like.
There are thousands of cases out there of folks who have gone missing that we don't know about.
Zach Summers, a criminologist specializing in missing persons cases, says only a fraction of minority cases receive non-stop news coverage compared to white people.
If there's a missing white woman, we're going to cover that every day.
A systemic issue the late longtime anchor Gwen Ifill coined missing white woman syndrome in 2004.
Missing white woman syndrome is the idea that young white girls and white women, they get much more news coverage than other folks of different demographics when they go missing.
According to 2020 FBI data, blacks only make up 13% of the U.S. population. They account for nearly a third of the missing persons cases in the United States.
If you see her, tell her we love her.
In Washington State, Mary Johnson's family is still waiting for answers. Johnson went missing late last year from the Tulalip Reservation.
She's a Native American woman. Sorry, I'm not racist or anything, but she deserves the same treatment.
Online, black and brown families are using hashtag Gabby Petito to post about their missing loved ones, hoping to gain momentum. A move that helped the family of Daniel Robinson raise awareness. Robinson went missing in June.
We shouldn't have to depend on other stories or other cases to push our own story. And we just want answers just like anyone else.
Those families also saying they didn't get the same allocation of resources or treatment from law enforcement.
There's data that suggests that when people of color go missing, especially young adults, teenagers, adolescents, they're more likely to be classified as runaways by police. They're more likely to be considered missing of their own accord by voluntary means.
How do we balance the coverage?
No one is saying that Gabby isn't worthy of coverage. It doesn't have to be Gabby Petito or someone else gets coverage. The same spotlight should be getting shown on both of them.
Today, Phillips should be celebrating her daughter's 29th birthday. Instead, she made flyers with the message, "Find Kiera Coles."
What can we really do about it other than just try to keep her name out there, keep doing interviews, and hopefully one day somebody will just call in and just leave a tip. We grieve every day because we don't know where she is or what's going on.
All right, so that was the missing person one. The only opinion I have about the missing persons, the difference between the marginalized and the counterparts is that with that Gabby, she recorded her whole routine or life. She was recording her life for YouTube, so it's documented where she was. It's like a picture. She has a picture book of her whole life for weeks before she disappeared, and that's the difference. Whereas with Miss Kieran, the mom didn't tell us anything about when she went missing. It's just, she's letting us know that on October 3rd, I believe it said, 2018, she was missing. She was a mail carrier. And I know the mom don't want to say too much information so that, people know, or maybe she don't know. But that's the only difference, is that with us, you hear of someone drove off in their car and they never came back. So you don't know what really happened, because it could have just been that they just didn't want to come back, or it could have been that they were, taken against their will. You see the difference though? Don't know where at exactly. Can't pinpoint at exactly like her last whereabouts. But then nevertheless, it seems like with Gabby, she got some kind of tips. So it still does boil down to resources, because they had people looking for her. Whereas with her, they don't, with the marginalized. And I don't know if it's because they don't know where to look. Like, where do you look at? We look at the corner of, the adjacent street, but then, well, that's the only thing about it, just not knowing exactly how to pinpoint it. And yeah, so he was found guilty, and they popular opinion, or maybe I don't want to say conscious opinion, because conscious is definitely looking like it's gonna be canceled. But he was also sentenced under this. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Mann Act. It's the White Slave Traffic Act, also called the Mann Act. It says it's a federal law that criminalizes the transportation of women or girls for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery, or for any other immoral purpose. Debauchery, excessive indulgence in sensual pleasures. So basically saying, like, R. Kelly is going down like as the world's biggest pervert. Like, literally, he's getting a RICO charge on like human trafficking like no other. It's one other organization that has like a human trafficking RICO charge, where it's like, this is really bad. This is really bad. And then he has like people working with him that are just doing it, look like, for clout. Like, they know they're not getting any money, because he don't have money. And even when he did have money, he wasn't paying any. I'm assuming, allegedly, he's not paying these people to do anything. He's paying the lawyers to keep him out of jail. And, maybe some people may say that that's the only reason why he's there now, is because he ran out of money. And then, that's kind of scary to think about. If he had the money, would he still be, would he be, would this be what's going on? But, it probably would have eventually. And I guess that's all I have to say today. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment. And till next time, family, God bless.